The man who has been part of the tapestry of the history of this club has won 5 FA Cups, 4 League Cups, 10 Charity Community Shields, 1 European Cup Winners' Cup, 1 European Super Cup, 2 Champions League titles, Intercontinental Cup, 1 FIFA Club World Cup, and 13 Premier League titles. The impossible dream made possible by the greatest British manager ever, Sir Alex Ferguson.
When Sir Alex arrived from Aberdeen in the autumn of 1986, Manchester United were in decline. They hadn't won the league since 1967 and found themselves second from bottom in the old First Division. Ferguson set about overhauling every aspect of life at the club, bringing discipline back into the changing room by eradicating the destructive drinking culture.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Manchester United Agenda. Tonight we're joined with Omundi, as always.
Hi guys.
Very special guest, Steve. Welcome, Steve. Welcome to the channel.
Thank you.
Welcome. We've been messaging each other to and fro, and finally, we got you on the show now to talk about Ferguson era, and we're going to be talking about your book as well. And we'll let everyone know the book. And guys, please show some support and go out there and get this book once we talk about this book. Absolutely amazing. And Steve is a legend. So come on, guys, let's go out there, show some support. Give the support to Steve.
There we go.
So, thank you. So, Alex, era. Could you ever imagine the success at the time what you would have when you joined the club in 1986? What is your memory of the earliest part of his managerial career?
Well, obviously, when he first came to Old Trafford, we knew of him, but we certainly didn't know the sort of disciplinarian he was down in England. We knew. I don't know if I should say this, but it was the Brian Clough of Scotland. What he did with the small team, as he did with Forest, Clough, and turned over Liverpool. He did it with the old firm up in Aberdeen, and the big plus for him coming down to Old Trafford, albeit that he did what he did in Scotland. He won 3 league titles, I think it was, and of course he beat Real Madrid in the Cup Winners' Cup, which was absolutely fantastic. He got experience at international level, being the assistant manager to Jock Stein. So there was obviously some pedigree there, but for him to shine through 2, 3, 4 seasons, it didn't happen. No one thought, this is the new Messiah. And as he took over in the November of that 86-87 season, we only finished mid-table.
Initially, Sir Alex's shake-up didn't have the desired effect. It is widely reported he was close to being sacked after a rocky start to his 4th season. But the Manchester United board stuck with him.
And unfortunately then, in the league, right up until 89-90 season, when we won, obviously, the Cup against Palace in the replay, again, every one of those seasons, we finished mid-table. And we had, again, like I said, against the Coventry and the Wimbledon, terrible performances, terrible gates, and obviously it's very apt what's going on at Old Trafford now and with the fans about should Ollie stay. How easy it would have been to get rid of Ferguson in that 4-year period before he actually won anything would have been so easy. Yeah. But the big but is you start from square one again once you do that with a manager. I personally, I still think Ollie is learning his trade as a manager. I know he's been in football all his life, but playing is different to coaching. Yeah. Coaching is different to management. It's a completely different kettle of fish. And again, especially the sort of issues that he's got with prima donna players and agents that he's got to sort round. You know, I really don't think in this era that Ferguson could really operate.
Interesting.
The way that he was with the players, and it was his way or the highway, you'd have the agents banging on his door every 5 minutes saying, "You've upset my boy, how dare you," sort of thing. But he obviously the massive break was that FA Cup win, and as a lot of people said at the time, if we hadn't in the third round of the FA Cup that season, we were drawn against Forest, and the press, virtually every paper was saying, if we lose that, Ferguson's gone, and of course Robbins popped up and banged the header in, and the rest's history, sort of thing. And then going on to the first time back in Europe for I think 7 years.
Six.
From '85. From when we won the cup, we then went again a really good run. I went to all those games.
Oh, wow.
One of them is covered in the book, the Montpellier trip.
Excellent.
Which is absolutely
Laurent Blanc? Was Laurent Blanc playing?
No.
Okay, before. Valderrama?
We did Barney. Yeah.
I remember watching it.
Yeah. You'd have had Bruce and Pallister.
Yeah.
But even that season, again, I'm almost certain that was mid-table finish for the league. It wasn't until the following season that the last actual football league before they went into the Premiership, that it was up until the infamous Forest game on the bank holiday, and I think with 4 games to go, we lost 3 of the 4.
Mm.
And
can I jump in there, because my questions kind of tie into this?
Yeah,
like the 2 main questions. I'll start with when Ferguson arrived at Manchester United. Yeah. What I want to know from you, Steve, is like, what kind of knowledge? I know he was experienced in Scotland because he brought in McClare and Jim Leighton. But what kind of knowledge did he have of English players, and who did he assign, or who did he trust in to identify who were the key players for Manchester United to sign? Because I've got a list here like Viv Anderson. He brought back Mark Hughes, Mal Donnelly, Ralph Hine. I mean, Keelan Webb, Pallister Ince. Wallace, Owen. So was he even? So my question is, who was identifying the players in an English game? Did he know much about the English players in the English game? And and finally, did he? Was that his plan to come in and straight away buy players, or was he going to keep with? Did you think he had the intention of keeping the squad that they had already?
To execute his root and branch reform, Sir Alex transformed the scouting network and youth setup. United's success for the next 27 years will be built on homegrown products.
I think he put Brian Kidd in charge of the youth in a local area, and he just got a load more scouts, and they got a load more active.
Aldy kept coming up and telling the likes of me, maybe the likes of Paul Ince, maybe even Dennis Irwin to an extent, and all players in that kind of time, is that these players, i.e. Nicky Butt, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, David Beckham, we're going to be taking your places soon. He believed in what was coming through, and it proved that he was right.
Well, the 3 amigos who ran the United midfield, and I think we're all bordering on world-class players, being Robson, Whiteside and McGrath.
Not Remy Moses?
I wouldn't. Fantastic player, but not in the class of those 3.
Okay.
He was an excellent player. There's no two ways about that. But not in their class. But when he came down, he brought his one of his old muckers, Archie Knox, as his assistant, and Eric Harrison, the youth team manager, was coach. Stopped at United, who was basically part of the Atkinson setup. But I think he's been very well documented, Fergie saying that after he'd been at the club only a few weeks, he thought, this is a bigger job than I ever imagined. And I've got to build basically from the bottom up. Mm-hmm. And he was absolutely flabbergasted at the youth setup. And I think we United at the time had something ridiculous like 2 scouts to go out and find new talent. So he just had, I think he just put his heart and soul into United. As I say, changing them from the bottom up.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, when we were playing reserve games, he'd be watching, and after the game, win, lose, he'd come in and say his piece. But he'd always, knock on that, you're looking to play for the first team, you're one stop away from playing for the first team. Say it was a bad game, you'd all have to improve.
He was there at the nights, with the youth team players after being with the first team. You turn around, he's sat on the bench next to you. Of course, the players look over to the bench, the managers. And obviously they play harder, they play faster, they want to impress him. He was everywhere. Just that force of energy and ambition and drive then lifted the whole club. Everybody else then was infected by that same sort of drive.
He might have only had 2 scouts, but he had about 200 spies around Manchester. And any time either of them was in a bar on an afternoon, there was a phone call. So he knew what was going on, and he knew that he had to change the drinking culture. Well, not just the drinking culture, just the professionalism of the players. They do the training and all that sort of thing, but that's only just part of putting a winning team together. It's they've got to dedicate themselves to the club, which an awful lot of players, in the 70s, everybody did it. Every Thursday night, virtually every English football player would be pissed without a shadow of a doubt, because they knew they'd just have a little bit of a kick about, a bit of 5-a-side on the Friday morning, and that'd be it. And they'd, probably half of them, and then they'd be in the pub on the Friday afternoon. But obviously, Strachan knew what was coming, because Strachan was already at United.
Yeah. And that's going to be my second question.
Well, Strachan apparently told the players, you've seen nothing like this fella, and his sidekick Archie Knox. He said he's as bad, if not worse. Things are going to be different, and a lot of the senior players basically laughed it off, and no, it's not going to happen. But he slowly did, obviously, then start to try and bring new blood in. It's just, as you say, with various levels of success. Start bringing in play, like when he obviously brought McClare down. A great signing. Became the first United player since Best in, I think, 68 or 69 to score over 20 league goals.
That's right.
And to say that it took that amount of time to get a centre forward that can put to it, and to me, any centre forward worth his salt has got to score a minimum of 20.
Sure.
They've got to be putting. If you're an out-and-out striker, that's what you've got to be doing. Like Cavani today, he'd be a 20 a goal a 20 goal a season player, and this is why I think it's so easy just to jump on Ollie's back at the moment and say, you know, you've won nothing over 2 years, you know, you're out and all that sort of thing. But to me, to bring somebody back in again and start all over is not the way. I think you've got to give him at least another full season on that.
Steve, can I ask, so in this era as well, so Gordon Strachan, I think, is a fantastic player. And we've seen that it's the success he had at Aberdeen, like the titles, the Cup Winners' Cup. And he was at Manchester United when Ferguson came, obviously. And he was a great player, clearly a great player. So he went on to play like in the World Cup, didn't he? Played in World Cup for Scotland. And Ferguson was managing the team.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm thinking, all right, they must be great mates. And then he's gone on and sold him. And then he went on to become PFA Player of the Year in 91 and win the league in 92, which is like, I mean, so tell me something. What's the relationship like between two Scotsmen, big personalities, Strachan and Fergie? And does Fergie feel any shame for letting him go and see him get all the success of like Player of the Year and then next year topping United to the league title?
Well, I don't think they weren't big buddies in any way, shape, or form at any time throughout their career. You know, from Aberdeen, from when Atkinson brought him down to Old Trafford. Under Atkinson, he played okay. He didn't play well under Fergie. He had one or two decent games where he really shone, but for especially the last season he was there, he just didn't want to be there. And whether it was, I don't know the ins and outs, whether he left Aberdeen because he wanted to get away from the, you know, the strict regime and all the discipline. And he seemed, you know, a quite easygoing sort of character off the field. But as you say, you know, we were gutted at, well, one, that he'd gone to Leeds, and two, how he performed. It was sensational.
It was fantastic, wasn't he?
Yeah. And you get that with players that they'll do nothing at their existing club, and then they'll go on somewhere else and get a new lease of life. And he's played maybe in a slightly different role. And I think he was captain as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And maybe there was, you know, a bit of, but again, with all due respect to Strachan, you've got Strachan and you've got Robson. Who are you going to have as your So
do you know anything about the relationship? Because I always wonder why they would do this. Was the relationship bad? Because it doesn't seem Strachan was a drinker.
Clash. I think it's
it wasn't. Isn't it? No. He has said many times that he would feel obliged to go out in these bonding sessions with the rest of the squad, and he'd have 2 pints and then disappear. And he said, you know, half of the players were that pissed afterwards, 3 hours down the line, that they wouldn't remember him going anyway. So, no, definitely wasn't a drinker, and he wasn't into socialising with the rest of them. I don't know any more about the relationship than I knew there weren't big buddies, and I know that Strachan did warn the players that, you know, the whirlwind's coming, basically.
Okay.
So whether that had anything to do with in moving on, but that was a real, that was salt in the wounds, you know, losing the title to Leeds.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we were all talking about, especially when he scored the hat-trick in the Charity Shield, why can't we get a player like Cantona? How have Leeds got him?
That's the next question I'm going to hit.
Yeah.
That's the next one I'm going to do. I'm going to touch on within Cantona now. So what do you believe the key attribute of being successful manager was his ability to get the best out of high-profile players like Cantona or the hairdryer treatment to ensure he got all players playing the United way?
Well, I think probably one of his greatest assets was that he was a fantastic man manager.
At the heart of his success was Ferguson's skillful man management. His reputation as a fearsome dictator kept the players on their toes, while his softer side earned their loyalty.
He knew how to give you a rollicking, he knew how to put his arms around you, comfort you. That wasn't that often, but he just had a unique way of getting his point across.
And he could see in Cantona almost immediately that there were kindred spirits, and the love of the game was just everything to them, and winning was everything. And Eric was completely different to everybody else, from his fashion dress to his training to what he did on the pitch. But again, you've got to be obviously pragmatic when you've got a group of players like that, and someone that is so key to what you're trying to do. And he was showing, he being Cantona, showing such a fantastic work ethic, and he was the only one for a few weeks that was training in the afternoons. No other United player was doing that, and the youth players who were just starting to come through, obviously the class of '92, Beckham, Scholes, the Nevilles, Nicky Butt, etc., were just like it, just seeing the sort of things that he was doing. And he actually asked a few of them if there'd be glorified boys really, for when he's doing his free kicks and he's doing all this, and he got them in. Then obviously more and more involved in the training, and within a very short time, I think the class of '92 was in awe of him as much as the fans were. Just absolutely loved him, and with everything that he brought to the club, you just had to do any. I don't think he was the sort of guy to take liberties. He wouldn't have gone out drinking the night before. He was an athlete, and he was a professional sportsman that wanted to win, and that was his main thing, and be given that freedom to go and express himself on the field, and not like Wilkinson was telling him at Leeds, you need to hold back, you need to do this, you need to be wherever sort of thing, with a world-class player like that, and how he never won the Ballon d'Or is just beyond me.
In France, people, were kind of saying why he has to put his collar up, why he has to walk like that, why he arrived here, and people didn't care about why he was this, he was playing good football. And I think that's the thing why Eric Cantona had such a great time here with the fans, and people loving him and him loving them, because they didn't care about his look. They cared about what he was doing on the pitch, and that's the most important thing.
He did quite well at Leeds, but it was an almighty gamble for Fergie.
He was a wonder to behold in terms of his style and input, and I don't think that in this country we'd see.
That guy has got something really, really, really special about him.
Brilliant on the ball, great shot, didn't care what he said, what he did, how he conducted himself off the pitch. Didn't matter, because he was such a genius on it, and he played up to that.
He scored goals with that nonchalance.
He changed the club about. His influence has been, well, unsurpassed, really.
All these young players around him just looking at this amazing geezer.
I was very young. I just came to United. I needed someone to really look up to, and he really took care of me, and before every game it's just, you'll score today, it's easy for you, good player like you will score. Imagine for a boy like I was just coming from Norway, that just gave me wings.
Occasionally he was a bad man to have around.
Eric's height of badness came at Selhurst Park when he karate kicked a Crystal Palace fan. He was banned for 9 months a punishment he took in typical Eric style.
When the seagulls follow the trawler, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
The sardines and the seagulls, which somewhere in the back of his head made perfect sense, but for us, just made us think, yeah, they're very good, but they're all mad as a box of frogs.
I played his first game back when he come back from a 9-month ban when he scored that lucky penalty. So
he scored and then swung on the stanchion and just kind of announced himself as being back. But back, we weren't to know, better than ever.
Ah, he's back, isn't it wonderful?
He's on the floor, Cantona.
Yeah.
Do you think it was like timing? Because like obviously Cantona had a past which was really bad with his management, disrespect to the manager, leaving teams, going on loan, all this kind of thing, out of the national team. So do you think it's just timing that we got him at the right mature age? If we would have had him a few years earlier, don't you think it could have been a disaster to manage him?
I don't know about that. I think it was, again, a very complex character. And he's always said he wanted to be somewhere where there was kindred spirits, which definitely he had with Ferguson, and he wanted to be loved, and he wanted to be able to express himself.
Okay.
And so Fergie may have well have done the same job on him 2, 3, 4 years. It was just the stars were all in line, weren't they, for us?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the sort of character that Fergie was, he would have been able to control him, but it's as you said, it's whether Eric was actually mature enough to take that on. So, but
it worked out okay.
It did. Yeah. But so, any genius in any walk of life, whether you're a mathematician, a sports star, an actor, a writer, they are wired up different to us.
Yeah.
Us mere mortals, they can't be treated as everybody else because they're not like anyone else. And I think that is something that obviously Fergie understood very well, and obviously got the best out of him without
certainly did.
without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. So, guys, we're going to wrap up there.
Okay.
We're going to come back again in a couple of weeks' time with you, and then we're going to indulge more with you regarding your book as well. And we're just going to go through and try to get a few episodes out regarding your book to cover a lot more on your book, so we can get people to go out there, actually read your book as well. So for me, guys, if you're out there and you are watching this, please go out there and keep an eye out for Red All Over, guys.
There you
Please
go
out and do it, and give Steve some support, as much support as possible out there. And he's been fantastic guest today, should I say. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Yeah, pleasure.
And we're going to be talking, and we're going to get you back on the show within the next week and a half or so to then do part 2 of this show. Okay.
All
so,
right.
guys, Steve, can you just let the guys know where they can find your book, please?
Amazon is or Waterstones online. It can be collected from, or if you want a signed copy from myself, if you can email me at grange@redallover.org.
Brilliant, fantastic. So, guys, we're going to leave you for tonight. This has been the Man United Agenda on Monday. Myself, Solo 7, and Steve. Absolutely fantastic having you on, and we'll see you in about a week's time. So, guys, thank you, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I've absolutely no script in my mind. I'm just going to ramble on and hope I get to the core of what this football club has meant to me. But first of all, it's a thank you to Manchester United, not just the directors, not just the medical staff, the coaching staff, the players, the supporters. It's all of you. You have been the most fantastic experience of my life. Thank you. I have been very fortunate. I've been able to manage some of the greatest players in the country, let alone Manchester United. And all of these players here today have represented our club the proper way.